7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
'Cause I'm a funk master fly, yeah, like no other guy. Said funk master fly, yeah, get funky. I'm a funk master fly, yeah, like no other guy. Funk master fly.
All right, how's it going out there in Broke Johnny Lands? Broke Johnny, getting the stream started a little bit late. Apologize for that. Today's topic will be, it's actually called Meet Your Meat. Okay, and this was a documentary that I saw many years ago. I think it was like Alec Baldwin or something like that, and he was talking about factory farming. We won't get into all that grossness, but anyway, hey, before we get to there, I just want to talk about a couple of things. Let me share this. How do I share this? I'll share it like this. Can you guys see that? Senators to offer amendment to require government to make UFO records public. So this was something that Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, put up on the a proposal for the National Defense Authorization thing that they do every year, and they get billions more dollars and things like that. So he basically wants to disclose all UFO records, all unclassified UFO records to the public. Okay, so that's one thing. So we got a little bit of bipartisan stuff going on there. And then another thing came out a couple of days ago that the Pentagon unveils a one-stop shop to see UAP, UFO videos, declassified only. So here's a short little segment regarding that.
Also this morning, the Pentagon is making it easier to go down the UFO rabbit hole. It's just unveiled a new website that promises one-stop shopping for all non-classified government records on the intriguing subject. The site is run by the Pentagon's new All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, yes, or AARO. It's a work in progress, so for now, you'll only find a handful of UFO videos. There will eventually be a section where the public can file their own reports.
Oh, my.
To be continued.
To be continued.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link.
Without further ado, let's bring Derrick in there for some discussion about some meat. How's it going, Derrick?
I'm doing good. How about you, buddy?
Pretty good. I was really surprised when I was working, getting all frustrated and stressed out and everything, and then I realized this was a 3-day weekend, so it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, dude? I do a lot of work and I do a lot of side gigs, and I need to take a week off, dude. Anyway, what's going on, dude?
Man, I'm just trying to get back in shape after 3 years. You know, it's rough. It's the appetite is big. Speaking about meat,
yeah,
and that's one of my pitfalls. So this is a good topic.
Yeah. So, did you? I know I sent it to you last minute, but did you do any research about meat and meat alternatives over the last 24 hours?
I got a little bit of history on it. When I was younger, I say in my late 20s. I was living with a girl, and she was a straight vegetarian, and she switched my lifestyle back then to just straight like lentils, pastas, and she really knew how to cook vegetarian food. And her mother was a psychologist, and they were like really into it. And for 4 years, I ate healthy. You know, I ran. I swam in the ocean. I was in great shape. I didn't have any body fat on me at that time.
Okay.
But then after the separation of that relationship, I went right back to meat.
Wait. So you were you're a vegetarian or a vegan? How long was that?
No, I didn't know too much about vegans. That was a little bit, vegans, you got about 37 products that they can't touch, so we'll get into that. What about you yourself? What's your dietary setup?
Well, I started becoming a vegetarian maybe like about 2000, and it was mainly due to the factory farming. I was just kind of grossed out by all that. And then I thought, you know, it'd be healthier, but then, you know, you're a vegetarian. It's like you start eating a bunch of carbs and everything. I mean, I guess I should have researched everything, right? You know what I mean? But still, if you start thinking about it, you could become a vegetarian, just pile up on carbs and cheese and all this stuff, and you'll be like, hey, I'm okay, you know. But in the meantime, you're getting pre-diabetic.
Yeah, you know, that's some of the complaints I get from the family. Like when I cook, you know, it's ribs, steaks, hamburgers. Now, one good thing, just about 15 minutes from my house, there's a ranch, and all the cattle are grass-fed, and that's supposed to be better than just your straight, you know, meats that have all type of, you know,
grains and all the
grain-fed.
GMOs and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But since we're on the topic, coming up from Los Angeles, when you get down there near Coalinga, there's a huge slaughter farm. And once you drive by that place, that will make you stop eating meat at least for a week or two.
Yeah.
You know, it's just amazing, the manufacturing of cattle. You know, one tip though, since we're talking about Crilly, a friend of ours, was talking about Crilly for 50 years has been a vegan. And so I asked him today, I said, hey, Crilly, do you eat chicken? He says he doesn't eat anything that's a mammal or, you know, anything that is a meat product. You know, he's a straight fish and, you know, everything that sits in a vegan menu. So I looked up tofu, and I found out that tofu, this was a surprise, created 2000 BC, over 2,000 years ago. It was seaweed and soy milk. It was an accident by China. And I was like, okay, so that was your first, you know, non-meat food that was processed, and it was an accident. It was a curdling you know, the soy milk and with the seaweed. Yeah. And so this is nothing new. It's just people jumping on it now, you know, in our time period.
Yeah, I've watched so many videos over the last. I mean, I've researched this before, but I've watched a lot of these videos, you know, over the last couple days, and there's so much. I mean, we talked about this before, man, but it's like there's so much disinformation or non-information, or there's always a bias on everything people say, man. It's so hard to sift through all that stuff. I mean, because I was thinking about this, Derrick. I was thinking about, like, okay, so if we want to actually research, hold on a second, let me fix this thing. If we actually just want to research, you know, these topics right here, it takes like weeks, months, and things like that, and it's like nobody has time to do that, to actually find the truth and things like that. It takes too long, and so I thought, well, I'm just going to start looking through YouTube and just try to get these different opinions, and I pulled up a couple of videos. Oh,
hang on a sec.
Okay.
Hello.
I had to pull up a couple of videos, so I think I just said, okay, I'll just watch these different YouTube videos and then see, and then research the people who are actually explaining things and see if they have any bias, you know? So there's a lot of things I found out about. It was about lab-grown meat is what the original topic was, right? And then we started talking about the meat alternative, the other meat alternative as well. You there, Derrick?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I thought you were going to go with a clip.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're ready for the clip. It's like 14 minutes, but I'll stop it after maybe 5 or something so we can kind of discuss. Okay, so hold on.
Sounds good. I'll get the dog to shut up.
Hey smart people, Joe here. I'm about to be one of the first people on Earth to eat real chicken grown entirely in a lab. That's right, we're talking the most futuristic nuggets ever. Through those doors, you won't find any real chickens, but you will find a state-of-the-art facility for growing actual meat using biological engineering, not actual animals. The researchers developing this technology think that food like this, cultivated by science, is the way that we'll get many or most of the animal products that we eat in the future. But you're probably wondering one of two things. Why do we need this, and how does it taste?
Humans and meat go way back. As a food source, it's been an essential part of our evolution, both biologically and culturally. But over the past century, thanks to massive population growth and increased demand for meat worldwide, the impacts of farming animals so that we can eat them have become really devastating. Ethically,
air quality so bad.
For our health,
A highly contagious avian flu.
There's a warning tonight from the U.S. Department of Agriculture about raw chicken linked to a potential salmonella outbreak.
and especially for the environment. But some innovative scientists think there's a way to make meat good for us and the planet. Instead of growing it on the farm, growing real meat here in the lab without the animal.
I'm Uma Valedi. I am the co-founder and CEO of Upside Foods, a cultivated meat company based out of California. I was training to be a cardiologist, and during that time, I was exposed to working with stem cells, which are these magical cells in our human body that can become anything. So I was taking stem cells and injecting them into patients' hearts to regrow the heart muscle when they had a heart attack or a cardiac arrest. And I started thinking, what if we can do the same thing with meat? If I take high-quality animal cells and give them high-quality feed and food, they can grow into meat. Our relationship with meat is complicated, but if you step back globally, our relationship with meat has always been about love for an enormously, exquisitely tasty product and not wanting to know how it comes to the table.
Moving meat from the farm to your table uses a lot of resources, especially compared to eating plants. More resource use equals more environmental problems, especially since we're raising 5 times as much meat as we did 50 years ago. And Americans are leading the charge there. Folks in the US eat 149 kilograms of meat per person per year. That's like eating 1,200 quarter pounders. And while Americans love a juicy burger, chicken is king, making up nearly 40% of all the meat that we eat.
There are pockets in which you can produce meat in a very sustainable way that is positive for the environment and positive for climate. But 99% of the meat that comes to our table is produced according to fundamental first principles that do not scale. When you try to raise an animal, you have to feed the animal so it has enough meat on the bone, but the rest of the animal is just a vehicle to get us that meat. No animal was designed just to make meat. An animal was designed to be an animal, love living its life, have babies, heal broken bones, run around, and live as long as it could by feeding itself the food it can find.
One way to think about the environmental cost of raising meat is to look at how efficient the process is. In a perfect, super efficient world, it would take 1 calorie of energy to grow 1 calorie of meat. 1 calorie in, 1 calorie out. But we don't live in that world. For starters, there's a lot of animal we don't eat. Consumers typically go for just a few choice cuts. And depending on the animal, it can take between 6 and 28 calories of energy in the form of feed to create 1 calorie of edible meat. That's kind of like if you bought 28 hamburgers and only ate one of them. Not a great return on investment, especially since we could, hypothetically, take the crops we grow for animals and use them to feed hungry people around the world.
When you have to put in anywhere from 10 to 30 calories of food to make 1 calorie of food, that is an extreme down conversion of energy. So that's problem number 1.
We also have to deal with the gas. Yeah, that kind of gas too.
There's greenhouse gas emissions coming from the animal, whether it's through the burps or the farts. That's the amount of that is intense. And that's an enormous problem that's very difficult to track.
A single cow will burp out about 100 kilograms of methane every year. Add in things like manure, growing feed for livestock, and changes to how we use land, and animal agriculture accounts for more than 13% of global greenhouse gas emissions. If we want to control climate change, scientists agree that we have to get our carnivorous consumption under control quick. Plant-based meat alternatives are having a big moment. But while we're eating slightly less red meat than our parents did, and choosing lower impact meats like chicken more often, the number of people eating plant-based diets hasn't changed much. And the world's richest countries are eating more meat overall.
We keep eating increasing amounts of meat every year, every decade, every century. So that tells me the choice of eating meat is fundamental to who we are as humans. I don't fundamentally believe that we as humans will give up what we love.
That's a take more and more people are beginning to acknowledge. Many believe our species' connection to meat runs too deep to simply erase it from diets altogether. Meat has likely been a part of the human diet since the beginning. Some anthropologists think that our ability to eat calorie-dense animal protein is what let our brains grow so big. Meat is a valuable part of many cultures and traditions too. So getting rid of meat altogether might not happen soon. These scientists think there's a way to keep meat on the menu while making it more efficient and environmentally friendly. And it starts in the lab.
This is what makes it feel like we're in a brewery instead of a meat cultivation facility.
That's right.
So do you just take a chunk of chicken breast and just drop it in, then you get meat?
I wish. That would be a lot easier. We have to go in and isolate the cells we want from a chicken breast or a chicken thigh or what have you. In a rice grain sized biopsy, you're gonna get 10 million cells, you know, and they're gonna be connective tissue, muscle cells, fat, they're gonna be all kinds of cells, stem cells even. So we tease those apart and then we grow them and then characterize which ones grow the fastest, which ones produce the best meat. We literally do like a little competition, and the best ones are the ones that end up out here. The meat you eat is, of course, predominantly muscle tissue, but there's stem cells in there, there's fat cells, there's connective tissue, there's fascia, there's the fibroblasts that glue everything together, there's collagen, there's so many cell types. Interestingly, under the law, no blood can be there, and generally no bone unless you, of course, buy bone in something. And so for us, it was breaking that down to figure out what makes meat tasty, what makes meat meat. And we had to ask that question because no one has asked it really for 12,000 years since we domesticated the cow. This is where we take the food powder that we have and turn it into the food liquid. So we call this feed, simple things we eat every day. Sugars, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, the things you would find in your food. We just blend them in their purified form with deionized water. So there's no bacteria, no viruses. And then this is what the cells both eat and live in.
Is this in a way taking the place of like what blood would do?
It is kind of like that. It's like blood in the sense that it has to carry the oxygen, but the oxygen is not being carried by red blood cells. It's just literally dissolved and pumped into the liquid.
So cells are not muscles and tissues though. So where does it happen that it goes from that mushy cell mix into what we would think of as chicken?
So we're gonna walk up the catwalk. But these are the tissue production cultivators. We invented this sort of technology in order to grow tissue. This was one of the hardest things to do, is to find ways to make cells want to grow effectively as tissues. This is where we rely upon effectively what life on Earth did for us for the last several billion years. We don't tell the cells what to do at this point. We allow them by giving them a substrate attached to. Their evolutionary program kicks on, and they start forming tissues like they would inside of an animal.
So you're just telling the cells, or just letting the cells do what they would normally do?
Right. The only thing we had to do differently up to this point is show them how to swim. They grow floating in a liquid, which is not something they normally do.
Chickens don't swim. I don't think I've ever seen a chicken swim.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's ducks.
Of course, running a facility like this uses a lot of energy. For cultivated meat to have any real potential, it has to make meat in a less energy-intensive way than using animals. Remember that energy to meat ratio we talked about? To make cultivated chicken better than farm chicken, scientists have to get that way down. And right now, these first-generation factories are pretty energy-intensive. But one advantage they have over farmed animals is how long it takes to grow the final product.
A commercial broiler takes about 6 weeks, which is actually pretty incredible to get to market weight. That's through a lot of selective breeding and great feeding practices. For us to get to chicken tissue, it's 2 weeks or less. In some cases, we can be doing a chicken product every 2 days. This facility is capable of doing about 400,000 pounds of cultivated meat at its maximum.
While growing chicken meat super fast is amazingly cool, it's gotta taste good too. And I'm here to put it to the test.
First one's actually going to be a fried chicken sandwich that we're going to do.
Fried chicken sandwich is, one of the pinnacle chicken items. So I'm pretty excited to taste this one. It looks totally normal. Here goes. I want to give some incredibly scientific response to this, being a scientist, but it's a crunchy, normal piece of chicken. It's just striking me how regular it is. Got the crunch on the outside, it has the flavor and juiciness inside. It's just chicken. It's really good. There's 2 halves here, Eric, but I don't know if you're gonna get the other one. You took the natural biology of how chicken cells have the programming to grow, made them do this so that when I bite into it, I've got no idea that it's just...
Right.
I'm glad I didn't eat too big of breakfast. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy this. This is chicken.
So today we're going to make for you a pan-seared chicken breast. It's going to be served with some charred scallions and tomatoes, a little white wine butter sauce, and then we've got some fun garnishes on top for you as well.
Okay. Exactly like chicken. Again, remind myself, this is chicken. If you eat chicken, you know it peels apart, like there's texture to it, and this is doing that, and it's kind of blowing my mind. I'm just eating chicken. I know, like I said with the chicken sandwich, I just want there to be this like profound thing, but it's just normal, like playing with my food.
Tasting is a magical moment because you're eating real meat. You know real meat when you taste real meat. And it's almost literally like an explosion of taste buds and billions of senses that are coming together. Because as humans, we know, I think, how to recognize meat. It's hard to quantify by science. It's the art.
I'm kind of a foodie. I like to think I have pretty well-trained taste buds. So I went into this feeling, well, pretty skeptical that this would be anything like meat. And I was wrong. This isn't plant products pretending to be chicken. It really is chicken, just farmed in a totally different way than humans have ever tried. But flavor and taste aren't the only hurdles cultivated meat has to overcome, and not everyone is convinced that it's the solution to meat's environmental problems. For instance, while methane from animal farming is a more potent greenhouse gas than CO2, it doesn't stay in the atmosphere as long. So if a cultivated meat factory gets its energy from fossil fuels, it could have just as bad an impact as the farm it's trying to replace. Growing cells this way also requires highly purified food and nutrients, which are currently much more expensive than what we feed animals. So at least for now, lab-grown meat is considerably more expensive. It can cost between $21 and $236 per kilogram, depending on the type of meat and how it's grown.
So the conventional products that are on the market that are produced with animal agriculture have a definite role to play. The plant-based meat alternatives have a definite role to play. And cultivated meat, which we are growing, has a definite role to play. And increasingly, as we go into the next 5 to 15 to 20 to 50 years, I believe that cultivated meat will have a bigger and a bigger role to play, but it's going to take time for transformative change. Because if it was simple to do, we would have done it already. But it's not simple to do because in the early stages, because there's no roadmap, there's no blueprint, you've got to figure out a lot of these things and bring it together. I mean, if you're talking about the future, let's say kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and let's say if you're a person who believes in rebirth, the future version of yourself will get really annoyed for not pursuing these choices earlier than we did. They'd be very happy we ultimately made the shift. But I think they would watch for a period in history with horror of what we as humans did for short-term gains that caused enormous downside that we had to dig ourselves out of. But ultimately, I think they'll be grateful that we woke up.
That was an incredible experience. Honestly, I don't know if that is the answer to all of our problems, but I feel like it represents the kind of innovation that it's going to take to get out of this environmental mess that we've created for ourselves. Even though it's something that felt like sci-fi just a few years ago, it's right there on a plate in front of us. I don't know if that is the answer to all our problems, but it feels real, and that feels pretty good. It just tastes like chicken. Stay curious.
Back to Derrick and John. I mean, so what do you think, dude?
Well, I find a lot of ethical questions there. If you recall when Oprah had the big fight with the ranchers, the cattle ranchers, which eventually I think Oprah ended up coming out on top on that. She used some bad terminology about beef, and that started it. And then you have the Bundy situation with the state of
Let's talk about lab-grown meat, also known as cultured meat.
Okay.
Lab-grown meat is grown using animal cells, so that the meat that is grown ends up tasting and smelling and looking like meat, but no animals die in the process.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. But you got that Bundy situation where the cattle were grazing on the state lands, and then the guy was supposed to be $1 million behind in his taxes, and everybody rushed up there for the protests. It was like it turned into a major to-do. So I don't think the cattle industry would accept that. The other deal that I find interesting is when it comes in terms of growing the meat itself, stem cells. Health-wise, we're not allowed. I'm going to get into that with the meat behind me.
Yeah, sorry.
Gee, thanks. we're not allowed to use the stem cells for repair right now in this country, like we are, let's say, in Panama or different other countries. We can only spin our own bone marrow or blood from the cells. So, but yet it's going to be okay to eat stem cells from animals. But then, you know, I get that the fact that the stem cells that are repair cells for humans are coming from placenta. We talked about that. So yeah, that's those are my two. And then I just got to throw this in, the movie Soylent Green.
Well, we kind of should be eating humans. You know what I mean? I think, as long as it doesn't cause brain damage or something.
Another interesting fact I came across, you know, getting prepared for this show. United States was the biggest consumer eating beef, you know, and then this was a surprise. China, with 1.40, or was it 430 something million people, is the biggest consumer of meat products. And then India, you know, you got a population of 1,300 and something million. So I get the point of this, where this could come in handy, like say a starving country like Africa. There's no grass, there's no, you know, there's not, because mostly when there's a problem with the farms, the problem is the feed and what type of weather system we have. So as a backup, I could see this being put in place.
Yeah. You know, it was funny. I was watching these videos. I told you about people always have their bias and they have an agenda, right? And I was watching these videos of this. There's this at UC Davis. There's a professor there of whatever, cowology or whatever, or agriculture or something like that, right? And he was explaining. He was talking about, you know, because they said how much water it takes to feed the cows and all this stuff. You know, heck more than it would to. So a couple of his points were valid, but they were kind of silly too. So one point was like, yeah, they use all this water, but they pee it out, and most of the water just goes back in the ground. Okay, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But then I started thinking, wait a second. But you're still giving these cows fresh water that could have went to feed plants instead of, okay, whatever. The other point was, he talked about the methane gas, right? And so the methane, you know, because they burp and they fart, and there's, you know, it's pretty nasty, like how much methane they release, or, you know, the whole thing about factory farming. And he was saying, well, he goes, yeah, we release methane and things like that, but he was trying to say that methane is only like 15% of the global warming problem. And that we should focus on, you know, reducing CO2 and things like that. That's way more, you know, focus on cars and also. It's like, okay, whatever. But that one's almost like, dude, like what's that? Whataboutism? It's like, hey, we're talking to you about your cows releasing methane and damaging the planet, and then you're saying, well, what about the CO2? That's the big problem. It's like, no, we're talking about the cows, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think for a lot of people, it's really the ethical thing of eating an animal, you know, killing an animal. At least the people that have turned into vegans, you know, and then, you know, it does take some knowledge, because you have to know how to get the nutrition for your body, you know, because otherwise it becomes. I've tried the health food, you know, the plant burgers. They're okay for a minute, you know, but then, you know, on a regular basis, I right now with the flavor, and then if you look at some of the coconut oils and then all the additives that they have to do to make a meat substitute, I don't know if it's really there right now. You know, some of it's close, but you always got to throw the extra onions, garlic, and the flavors to spice this stuff up. Now, the thing is, nutrition-wise, what is it doing for you nutrition-wise? That's the whole point.
Yeah,
you know, and then I come to you more on that, because you got a little more knowledge.
Well, because I'm ripped, bro. Okay.
yeah. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
No. But okay, so you brought up an interesting point. Okay, just to, I don't know if it was Professor Davis dude or somebody else. What they're saying is, like, you know how we give all this grain and all this stuff to the cattle and chickens and all that. What he was saying is, like, yeah, we give them way more, you know, we give them all kinds of stuff, but it's not like the seed or whatever. It's like the husk. He said, like, those, the cattle will eat the husk, will eat this, you know, like everything off the corn on the, you know, everything but the corn on the, I mean, they'll eat the corn on the cob too, but they're kind of eating all the stuff that humans wouldn't eat anyway. You know what I mean?
Well, I was noticing, like, so when you take companies like Harris Ranch, they start their cows off with a high grain feed. They convert it into a powder, and then later they introduce the husk and other things. But they also they do such a mix of feed so that the animal is more healthy. They also they spray water so to keep the dust down. They try to keep the thing is to try to keep the stress of the animal down so that because like it produces, I don't want to call it cortisol, like steroid.
But no, I wouldn't doubt it. It does something. Like that.
And then they also test for the level of antibiotics in the food itself before it goes to table, because there's so many antibiotics in the food itself, the grain that the cattle are consuming because of pesticides, that that's why it's getting harder and harder to have what do we call it when you go and you need you catch a flu or something and you have to take an antibiotic. You're not working as well.
Antibiotic resistance. Yeah, it's right.
Right. And then a lot of this stuff, in terms of, and not talking about methane, the wastewater from the fertilizer is going down the streams and out to the ocean. So even in terms of sea life, you're still getting a large amount of antibiotics,
nitrogen and all that stuff, man. You're right. There's, like, you'll see, like, if you think about, everybody's got a crap, right? So you look at these factory farms and you see these huge, obviously they're like above ground septic tanks, you know what I mean? And it is literally crap, Human stuff, we have to go to a wastewater treatment and all that. But it seems like they just kind of let it sit out there and evaporate, dude,
Yeah, they use a enzyme if they're state of the art, where it eating bacteria, and usually they flush this stuff down in the rain. But you can still see the bacteria plume and how it affects the kelp, affects the sea life, the reef. A lot of the reefs are getting destroyed. Besides the heavy metals that when we're doing our mining, a lot of that is, just like you said, on the
on ag. So
on ag,
ag's doing. I know, because Bernice and I were just talking today about everybody getting cancer and all this stuff, and I'm like thinking, like, well, dude, we've been putting pesticides, oil-based pesticides that are completely carcinogenic, on frickin' all this food for how long, right? Ever since whatever capitalism, and then all the microwave radiation, all of our Wi-Fi. I mean, there was like that 5G scare of all this stuff, and there's just a little bit to that, but I'm just more concerned about just the electromagnetic radiation. They say, oh, it's not going to hurt you, but it's like we're almost all on a really low defrost cycle. You know what I mean, with that microwave, right?
Yeah, I think we got to find a balance, and the balance is somewhere in, like, understanding plants. Like, in Hawaii, they had a sustained culture of eating a thing called taro, and the planting of it. But you can't just straight eat taro raw, because it has poison. So you have to cook it and cook that poison out. And then they have the leaves. And so, there's different plants. So, there's always this thing about sustainable communities. And, so you're going to have that balance, in society itself, so, and it's going to be hard, because our culture, basically United States, we, McDonald's, Wendy's, you can go on and on, we are really heavy meat eaters.
Yeah. And I know. And then I remember we have some vegan friends, and there's some kind of a thing on Netflix, and they're saying, like, hey, a rhinoceros is like 100% vegan, and look how big and strong them fools get, right? And the gorillas and all that too, right? But they still, all the videos I watched, they said that they don't know, but it could be possible that that eating the meat helped our brains develop, right? And then maybe we wouldn't have, because if you think about it, like these rhinoceroses and all these other these whatever you call them, omnivore, no, whatever, the vegetarian, whatever animals out there, it's like, hey, their brains didn't develop to come and step on us, right? It's like we're the ones who are eating meat. No, but you know what, dude? There's like all kinds of meat-eating animals, and they don't have a developed brain, so maybe that's BS, you know?
Well, when they look at history and they find out like most of the first humans were pretty much wiped out, and before we get up there to the Neanderthals, and that's when man really first started. Hey, we were hunter-gatherers, but then it was like it became more of a hunting and a territorial thing against other tribes. And they were meat eaters. They grew larger. The weather was colder. You didn't really have a plant-based, sustainable type of food. So animals were like, on the menu. And so that was the early development of some of the, our early human ancestors, our European ancestors.
Yeah, definitely. I remember Beyond came out. Well, first there was the Garden Burger, which is like, it's not a burger, but dude, I would get those like every Friday at this burger place. My friend would get like a fried chicken sandwich or something, and then I'd get the Garden Burger because I just.
How did you like it? What'd you think?
Well, okay. I'm talking about old school Garden Burgers. Like they were just whatever they were, but they were okay. They definitely were meat. They were not meat. They didn't taste like meat, but they were okay, right? And then everybody's tried those. Well, not everybody, but then Beyond Meat came out, right? Now, do you remember trying Beyond Meat? And not to confuse that with Impossible, because that's something different.
Honestly, I just looked at it and I didn't realize with so many damn ingredients coming from, a plant-based cellulose. It just like, for me, it's just too many ingredients to make the darn stuff. I mean, I'm just not into searching out to get that many ingredients to make one thing. Now I'll go to the health food store and buy it in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Okay. Those are some more points. Okay, so that one of those, whatever people against lab meat was saying that. Remember, he was saying that they're going to have to start introducing antibiotics into that serum that they feed the the cells with. But then you heard on that video right there, he's all, no, everything that goes in here is totally, it's all, whatever you call it, clean. What's the word, man? Like sterilized and everything.
Yeah. And
so he said that, so I'm kind of questioning what that guy said,
What he said was it was high end. It was a high end genetic material.
Well, okay.
Cells.
It's okay. It could be stem cells, but it's what it is some kind of a bovine serum. And they said when they first started getting it, they would go to pregnant cows and go to the fetus and somehow extract the serum. But they said it was like it was kind of cruel, so they stopped doing that. Now there's this other place that does something. But
once you first get the stem cells, they can replicate them again without, I think, going towards that to the placenta or whatever area they're going to get. It's incredible. I had no idea that that's how we were actually generating this manufactured food.
No. I don't agree that it's stem cells making the food. I never heard anything that say it was stem cells.
It's cells from animals. So when I say stem cells, they're cells grown in a lab. No matter what they get to, they're stem cells. Now they're animal stem cells. They're not human stem cells. But that's the only way to grow.
I see.
Yeah. I didn't mean.
Not human stem with the umbilical.
Not human. No. Not Silent Green.
Yeah.
And then have you seen a change in the subject, but still talking about processed food? What about, have you seen them do the white fish and convert it into crab meat, imitation crab meat?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about that earlier. I know there's that fish they make into imitation crab. That's been going on for years. Were you talking about something else?
Actually, when I saw them make it, the paste and how they this gray goo that they have to bleach it, and they have to add salt, sugar, and all this stuff to put back, and then they have to color the top and just to give it that layer to make it look like crab. I was like, oh man, I never want to eat that stuff again.
Wait, dude, what are we talking about? Oh, the fake crab. Go ahead. Yeah.
The fake crab. But you know what? Like last night, I bought the sushi at the grocery store.
Yeah.
With the imitation crab.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. Now I had a lot. I had soy sauce in there, wasabi.
Yeah, exactly. Just like my garden burger, it's just covered up with all the other stuff. But I remember, but the one thing, because the vegan friends were saying, oh, they like this brand. It's called Gardein, Gardein, and I'm like, hey, so I went and got some Gardein chicken pieces and stuff like that. I was like, hey, these are hella good, man. But yeah, I looked at it. They had heck of sugar, man, in there, heck of sugar, right? And I was like, dude, I can't be eating this. Yeah, and so
I'd like to go back to maybe trying out to be a vegetarian, but like I said, it takes a lot of work. And it's not cheap either. It's really not cheap. The vegetarian stores, I don't know, what's some of the major ones you have over there in California?
Well, you don't got to go to a vegetarian store to be a vegetarian, man. You just don't eat freaking meat, man.
What are you going to eat then? I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to just do fish, and then what do? You're going to just do pasta and just beans,
I don't know. I see Sarah's out there somewhere, man. So she was a vegetarian or something, or vegan or something. And what do these guys eat? You know what I mean? But I just know when I was a vegetarian for 4 or 5 years, I started eating Indian food, right?
Okay, right.
What else? Of course, I'd eat
I think
pasta. But dude, I had this conversation with Carol, and we actually started ordering. I forgot what the dinner in a box kind of thing. They give you all the ingredients.
I heard you guys were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, the veggie one, and then and that was pretty good. But I just wanted a break from eating meat, man. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And hold on a second. So we go back to so Beyond Meat. So I've tried Beyond Meat before. They were good because they were okay. And the red meat is made with beet juice, I believe. That makes the blood look.
So when you say it's good, what do you like about it? When you say it's good, what do you like about it?
Okay, what I mean, I guess what I mean is it's good for a meat substitute is what I'm saying, right? It's not meat. Okay. It doesn't taste like meat. It's kind of close, but not really. Okay, and then then I got a hold of these Beyond Sausage links, and those are hella good, right?
Those are bad.
Yeah,
I've had them.
Yeah, exactly. But Carol doesn't like them because they kind of smell weird, like when they cook, when you fry them up real quick. And then, dude, then remember Impossible came out, right? And I remember it was like Burger King had like a monopoly on Impossible, and that one was kind of weird because the blood that they made, the heme they call it, they called it they made basically blood from plants, or they made heme from plants, and so that's kind of strange. I mean, but they taste more like hamburgers for damn sure. Okay.
I've got my dogs busting in all around me.
Okay. Yeah. So they tasted more like hamburger, and I was eating those Impossible Whoppers, for a few times, and then
they're still making them out here.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. But I'd kind of get a little bit of a tummy ache sometimes, and I kind of stopped eating it. But the other day I had one and I was fine. So
I thought they're just a little bit on the drier side. Mm-hmm. But the deal is on the fat content. That's the problem I'm noticing with a lot of the red meat. Like if you have arthritis, a lot of times eating the meat, you start to feel a little bit slower, your joints. And I do notice that at the older age. When you're younger and you're growing muscle, that red meat it's nice. But as you get older and you're slowing down, and you're not burning the calories like you should, that's when it becomes a little bit of a problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then people like Krilly can tell you he found a way to make his food diet. What do they call it? To from cancer to get the alkalinity out of the food. There's another thing why you probably want to stay away from animal meat. And then we're talking about poultry, pigs, all of that.
Yeah. See, so Tennille wrote. I asked Sarah, said she wasn't a vegan anymore, but Tennille said that Whole Foods are the best food, and I thought she meant Whole Foods.
That's what I was thinking.
I know, but it's not. But she meant Whole Foods, right? Yeah.
Oh, she meant Whole Foods. Okay.
Yeah. Can create complete protein just by eating a variety of veggie beans. Exactly. Like that is like.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing that they said that was lagging was the B12 or something that vegans have, but they could take supplements for that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like
I think it was it was D. It was something with D because
vitamin D maybe.
Yeah, because they can't eat meat, poultry, fish, seafood, dairy, egg, or even bee products. And then it was like ingredient additives derived from animals, like certain additives, several food additives they can't have, and it's just a whole number of them. And then a gelatin and natural flavors. Oh, omega. Oh, they can't have omega-3 fatty acids and all that. It was vitamin D. It was vitamin D3. You needed to get that in. It had to be delivered from fish oil, something like that. Yeah, the D's. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know omegas are in fish. Okay, so the God, was I just gonna say about the so, you know, I'm susceptible to marketing and all these little shiny things that you want to buy, right? But anyway, this is just the good old egg, right? So you can get like 18 eggs, or let's say you can get 12 organic free-range eggs for about like, I think it's about like $5 for a dozen, right? Okay, I'm not talking about now, before the prices went up, but now they're stable at about $5, right? And then you can get these other ones called there's ones by Vital Farms, right?
Yeah.
And I liked it because it was a marketing, cool looking label and everything. But and they were $7.99 for a freaking dozen, right? And I'm just like, whatever, I'm rich, I'll get them. And I brought them back, dude. But like those eggs are hella good, dude. They're like kind of orangey looking. I mean, compared to the other eggs that are just like they're yellow with in white. But these are kind of
no, dude. There's nothing like real fresh
eggs,
chicken eggs.
Yeah,
the flavor. You know, I've had them a few times out here in Hawaii because there's so many wild chickens.
Yeah,
and it's and in the Philippines too. It's just like really rich. I don't know. I don't know if it has something to do with the sterilization process or what it is. Maybe it's more protein in it, but
it's what they feed. Okay, it's what they feed them, and so because I went down the rabbit hole talking about what free range means and what freaking pasture meat, pasture raised, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But those ones there, the expensive ones from Vital, are pasture raised, right? And so they're actually, because okay, so let me back up again. Okay, so factory farm, that's nasty shit. Oh, excuse me, that's nasty. You don't want to touch factory, okay? Even though people eat it, whatever. Okay, factory. Then I would say, okay, let's get these free range ones. So the thing with the free range thing is, let's back up. The factory ones are like 6 chickens to a coop about like this big. They cut their beaks off. So hold on, let me finish, man. They cut their beaks off so they don't peck each other to death, right? And they're in there and they're crapping all over themselves and things like that. Okay, so that's the factory ones. Okay, now they say free. Now they got free range. So in the free range, they take them out of the cage and they let them, and they have a little door where they can go outside. But a lot of times they don't even go outside because they don't even know it's even there. But they're not in those cages, but they're in this huge like football fields of just completely crowded chickens, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one after that is the pasture raised ones. That means that they have to be outside on a pasture, right? Okay, and those are what the Vital Farms are. Okay, so like I said, they were $8 a dozen versus $6 a dozen, right? But they were saying the omega-3 content is like I forgot. I want to say at least 3 to 5 times more than the other ones. So you think you're paying more money and they're more expensive, but you're actually getting a hella more of a nutritional value out of it. So that was my point. Okay.
Yeah, I get into the if you believe in God and the right to life as far as an animal's concerned. I've seen it up when you head up north to those farms that are like 1850s, heading up towards Bodega Bay, and you have the tons of chickens just like literally all over the farm, and then the cattle roaming open field. It just seems way more humane.
Yeah.
If you're going to be eating poultry or pigs and meat, seems way more. I did stop. One thing I don't eat was veal. When I was young,
what's that? Lamb or
the
something?
veal? The small calves that are kept in the dark, and they don't get exercise so that the meat is soft on the bone. But it's an Italian food staple. The veal, but. Yeah, I think we just have to be more considerate, of life itself, So
yeah, Yeah, and again, that's why I was vegetarian, was because the cruelty to animals, right? And I said, and then after a while I started justifying, well, if I'm going to eat meat, I'm going to get free range meat, right? But then now I know what free range meat is. I've been fooled. I mean, for what, 20 years? I don't know, 10 years of getting free range stuff, and it really isn't. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than you're not 6 to a coop, but there's still crap everywhere. There's just dying left and right. It's pretty sick, dude. And the other thing is like pigs, right? Pigs, like they're supposed to be like really smart, and they're showing these videos of like the pigs don't even see the light of day until they go to the slaughterhouse. I mean, that kind of sucks, dude. You know?
Yeah. Or they're chained together to get them big. You know?
Yeah. They're sentient beings. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not right, man.
Yeah. So, oh well, we covered that area.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
You gotta dive into it like a little bit at a time, though. You can't make the big like switch, you know.
Yeah. I mean, moderation, like you're saying, a little bit of this and that, right? Okay, so here's the video of. I'll show this one here. Okay.
That's where it does help to have that hippie girlfriend or wife, though, that just jumps right into those lentils or pastas.
Well, those are, but lentils are so good for you, okay, right?
Yeah, a lot of protein in those, a lot of protein.
Okay, so let me show this. This is why I stopped eating meat, okay?
Oh boy, here we go.
Animals feel pain. This is a scientific fact. And yet, in animal industries all over Australia, pieces of animals' bodies are cut off, sliced open, and burned away while they are fully conscious without pain relief. This is routine, and it's inflicted on millions of animals raised for food every year. But why do animal industries do this, and why isn't it illegal? In Australia, animal farming is a multi-billion-dollar business. The majority of animals born into these production systems are thought of only as property. Their wants and needs come second to profit, especially in factory farms. Instead of allowing animals to live freely and follow their instincts, factory farms force them into industrialized systems that deny animals any semblance of a natural life. In factory farms, mother pigs are kept in tiny metal crates. With mothers unable to move away from their hungry, suckling babies, piglets' teeth can often damage their mother's udders. Young pigs, packed into crowded sheds, sometimes bite each other's tails in frustration. Rather than address the behavioral needs of these animals, the industry's solution is to cut off piglets' tails and cut the tips off their teeth. This is done when they are only days old. Similarly, hens, frustrated at being unable to engage in their natural behaviors, can peck at one another when forced to share confined spaces. So the industry removes part of their beaks. These industries could give animals more space or reduce their numbers, but that would lower their profits. Instead, they cut bits and pieces of live animals to make them fit into their cruel systems. But it's not just on indoor factory farms where these painful procedures happen. A cow's horns can be dangerous to other cows if they're forced unnaturally close together, such as in trucks or sale yards. They can also cause injury to the humans handling them. A cow's horns are not unfeeling like fingernails. They have a blood flow and contain sensitive nerves. But the industry cuts them off, causing intense pain. Or if the calf is still young, the growing horn buds are burned or scooped out. Pain relief is cheap and available, but still rarely used. Lambs, like puppies, are born with long tails. But unlike puppies, they don't get to keep them. Lambs' tails are cut off in their first weeks of life. Or a rubber ring is used to stop the flow of blood to the tail, causing it to die and fall off. Knives and rubber rings are also used to remove the testicles of male lambs, calves, and piglets. It's legal to perform all these surgical procedures without pain relief and while the animal is fully conscious. But why is this allowed? Every Australian state has laws that prohibit harming animals. If any of these things were done to a cat or a dog, there would be serious legal consequences. But animal agriculture industries enjoy a loophole known as codes of practice. The codes, which outline how agricultural businesses can treat animals, contain many outdated farming practices. This shields those practices from animal protection laws, despite science telling us that many of the practices cause animals extreme pain and stress. That's why, in Australia, cutting the tail off a dog is a crime, but cutting the tail off a lamb is just business. So if the law doesn't protect farmed animals, who will? Let's look at an example. Sheep raised to produce wool can suffer from a painful and sometimes fatal condition called fly strike. This happens when flies lay eggs in a sheep's wool or skin, producing maggots that feed on the sheep's flesh. For decades, the wool industry's solution to deter fly strike has been a practice called mulesing, slicing chunks of skin off a lamb's rear, often using the same shears used to shear wool. When global awareness of mulesing was raised, there was international outrage. Boycotts were organised, and dozens of huge companies said they would stop buying Australian wool until the practice stopped. As a result, a new market for non-mulesed wool was created. Unfortunately, for many animal farming industries, cutting pieces off animals' bodies has simply become an accepted part of doing business. And with governments prioritising economic interests over animal welfare, it is only the fear of losing the support of retailers and their customers that will motivate change, as the case of mulesing shows. Through what we buy or choose not to buy, we have the power to make change. You can let these animal industries know. While they continue to inflict terrible suffering on animals, you won't buy their products.
Okay, Derrick. Sorry to roll that out.
Thanks for showing me that on a Sunday, John. I needed that.
No, but it's like that was about us. Yeah. I think what they said, Australia or something like that. But that's the United States. That's Tyson Foods. That's Tyson Foods, man. It's like all over the place.
Yeah, we do it here too.
Yeah. So basically, what the broke Johnny fans need to know, and I'm guilty of it too, right? Is like anytime you go to McDonald's, any fast food, pretty much anywhere you go to, that is the meat you are putting in your body. They didn't even get into the antibiotics and things like that as well, right? I mean, you know what I mean?
The best processed deal that I've seen is when the Alaskan fisheries. That's why I eat those fish burgers. Catch the fish straight and roll them through the conveyor and clean them, steam them, put the breading on them, right into the freezer, into the box. That thing is so the technique is so clean and so efficient, you know, and you avoid that kind of deal. But I think you made me just clean up my act for a while again, seeing that. But now I still got hamburger and steaks in the refrigerator. So
well, I told Carol this the other day because we were talking about lab-grown meat, and now I'm kind of sketched about it, right? After doing some more research, but I said we're all going to get, like the beef we get is grass-fed, right? Grass-fed beef. Okay, I'm assuming if they're grass-fed, they could be walking around. Okay, that's one.
They are walking around. That's what I got over here. They're walking the fields, but they get to, I don't know, as age 14 months or how long they give them before they got to take the hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
it depends on how much food that the farmer can feed the animal at the cost. That's the deal, or whether it's going to be a drought condition. whether, because it's a business for the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just capitalism at its best, right? I mean, but I don't even like people who shoot animals. Okay, I don't even want to get into that, man. We're just killing animals.
That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother deal. That's a whole nother deal.
But yeah, so God darn it, because like I've been getting free range chicken at Trader Joe's, and now I'm thinking like, what the hell, man? If free range is just as bad as, I should do some investigation and see exactly where they're getting their chicken from, because if it's like that, that one football field of, on the inside,
that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty sad. And here's the other part, like, okay, so I told myself when I was vegetarian too, well, after I started eating, I'd say that, like I was looking at an organic free range piece of, they have it at Trader Joe's, right? It was like a ribeye about that big, and it was $15, I think. It's kind of thin.
Yeah.
And then the other one was about like $9, And I still, even though I'm rich, I'm like, man, I could have spent $15 on that damn ribeye, man. And I got I was bad. I got the whatever, dude. I got the old USDA choice tortured, stuff out there, I mean, Carol says, don't be saying it's tortured meat. I mean, I guess what she means is like, don't be, you're eating something, enjoy it. Just assume it's good food or whatever, but don't say you're eating tortured meat, because that's messing with your brain. I mean, like, I get that, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Guess it'd
be interested. It's going to be interesting to see what some of the guests think about this subject matter for sure.
Well, it's pretty uniform, dude. I see all these comments right here, man.
Well, you can see I'm tiptoeing around it. I don't want the cattlemen coming after me from down the street. I'm not rich like Ofa. I can't afford the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, I get it.
It's not gonna be a lawsuit. We're just talking about lab-grown meat.
Oh no, we're just covering some points where nothing we're saying is not valid.
Mm. Yeah.
I was at the grocery store last night trying to decide whether is it the $28 worth of tuna in slices. I'm like, hey, that's not enough meat. Yeah. Or is it, or is it the kielbasa sausage? And then over to the canned tuna, is it the albacore? Or is it the star? Was it the Charlie the tuna there? Like how they're captured.
Yeah.
And now I remember when dolphins were being killed, we had a where we boycotted for a while on the tuna industry, that they have a different type of net as far as releasing the tuna. That was an issue because they were using that big the drag nets, capturing all the sea life and even the dolphins.
Yeah. That's the Seaspiracy documentaries on Netflix.
So we collectively, people can make a difference, and that's kind of why I do really like the Whole Foods, the way they set their stores up. They just seem a little bit more healthier, But and then I know we didn't even get into the disease aspect of those type of farming where
I know that's the thing. People are saying that how gross it is for lab grown meat and how Beyond or Impossible doesn't taste like meat, and then but that you're still eating this factory meat, right? And there's all these issues. I mean, like you just brought up antibiotics, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The cruelty, right? That's what are they feeding these guys, right? You know what I mean? It's like that's what you're putting in your body, right? If you don't eat a veggie patty, man. I mean, it's just you can make your own choices, and I get it, and I make my own choices. I had a hamburger the other day from McDonald's, right? But you should be aware of what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or what you're eating, I guess, right?
Yeah, my nephew, he worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. He said it depends on the owners, man, and the manager to what goes in that fryer sometime, whether the quality of the food is,
oh yeah, like there's that too. Like if it's kind of spoiled, they said let's just fry it up anyway, man. Right?
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay, so in summary, I have this little PowerPoint again. So let me just see if we can go over these things. Let me just put this over there. Okay, so how am I going to make this sucker click? I'll say, okay, meet your meat. Let me get your vocal on there so I can hear you audio there. All right. Okay, God, I mean, how am I going to read this for this side?
You want me to read it?
I can read it. Okay, factory farm meat. There you go. There's Coalinga right there. I don't know if that's Coalinga, but that's basically right. Or
Yeah,
Coalinga,
yeah.
And
Wow,
then,
yeah.
Okay, pros, it's cost effective, right? Okay, no, right? Okay, they can make it scale, cheaper to produce, availability, it's everywhere. Taste, of course, it's consistent. Flavor, efficiency, faster production, shelf life, often processed to last longer. Okay, nutrient dense, it's rich in protein, iron, and other nutrients. But what are the cons? Environmental impact. It's got a high carbon footprint, like that guy was talking about. Animal welfare, you saw that. That was nasty. Health risk, there's your antibiotics, okay, and hormone use. Food safety, this is the nastiness out there, the E. coli everywhere, okay. Nutrition, could be high in saturated fats, we know that, like red meat, right. Ethical concerns, mass production can involve poor labor practices. Okay, you can look at the next one, okay, you read the next one. Impossible meat. Can you see
so
that?
the pros on that were, the eco-friendly, less resource intensive than animal farming, animal welfare, no animal slaughter involved, health, no cholesterol, contains fiber. Oh, that's good. Innovative, mimics meat flavor well, convenience, easy to cook, food safety, lower risk of foodborne illness, long shelf life, less waste. And the cons, nutrition, high in saturated fats and sodium, price generally more expensive, processed, not a whole food.
Yeah.
Allergens, contain soy, taste, not like everyone, not by everyone. Cultured barriers, some resistance to plant-based meat, availability not always easy to find.
Okay, and here's the next one. I put beyond your buddy up there, your sausages. It's eco-friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, these are basic. It's pretty much the same thing as impossible, right? Same thing. High in saturated fats, processed. Let me see. Some resistance to adoption may not be readily available. Okay, that's just kind of boring stuff, but same stuff. Okay. What else?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the one I found about today. This pasture-raised meat, right? So you see, and this goes for the chickens too, right? See this omega-3 fatty acids, dude. Like there's it's way higher in omega-3 fatty acids. Okay. And then if they're on the pasture, right, they have better living conditions. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and many consider it tastier, but who knows, right? Okay. Typically raised without antibiotics or hormones. It's sustainable for local systems. I think Sarah was saying that earlier. Transparency. It's easy to track back to the source. Less contamination. Less foodborne illnesses. Okay, the price. There's the price, man. Even for rich birds, right? Rich Johnny. It's generally more expensive. Like hecka, dude. Like 100% more. Availability. It's less readily available, right? I see a lot of free range. Well, I have to go look because I buy these rosy chickens sometimes and these diesel chickens.
Yeah.
I know the diesels are most likely pasture raised because those are like really expensive, but I get that on Thanksgiving, right? But okay, wait. Environmental, it's still resource intensive compared to plant-based options. Quality and practices can vary. Seasonality, land use, and it requires more land. Yeah, but I thought that was a good thing actually. Okay, so what's the last thing here? Lab grow. Go ahead. You just got schooled on that. Go ahead, Derrick. What do you got there for lab grown meat?
So the lab grown meat. So pros, it's eco-friendly, potential lower environmental impact, animal welfare, no need to slaughter animals, food safety, reduced risk of foodborne diseases, customization can be engineered for specific qualities, resource efficient, may require less than land and water, health, possibility to control fat content and nutrients, innovation, represents a cutting edge in food technology. The cons, costs, currently very expensive to produce, energy use, initial production may require substantial energy, public acceptance, lab grown label may deter customers, taste, taste, still being refined to match traditional beef, regulations, legal frameworks are still being developed, nutrition, long-term health effects unknown, availability limited, access due to current production constraints.
Wow.
Well, that can all be solved like really quick though.
Yeah. You like that stinger thing I got? Check us out, dude. It's a stinger. Like I didn't know what a stinger was, so I looked it up. So watch when I flip the PowerPoint or whatever. Listen, see that? You see the logo comes out and
nice,
okay,
nice.
Pretty cool, huh? So now we know what a stinger is. Here, Tennille's got a little. Which is trophy hunting is horrible, but I respect hunters who only hunt for food. Yeah, I agree. They have a better connection to their food than most people. Okay. I think there's more of a comment, but I can't read it all. Oh no, I said.
I was good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to wear a wild boar necklace that I bought, but I was like, nah, that's doing a little too much. Just to
What do you have you eaten wild boar before?
Yeah, I have actually. I've actually had I've had alligator, which is great, with a mustard sauce. They have one over there in Chinatown in San Francisco. I've had, of course, venison because I grew up in upstate New York, and but the best deal, and I really have taken care of them myself, is wild buffalo and wild pig. It's just, venison is just great. And I say, there we go with the meat again, and buffalo is like really lean, less fat, and there's a place in San Francisco that makes buffalo burgers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've had buffalo and horse before, I believe. Yeah.
I've been hitting a Filipino place, Buffalo. The soup is just awesome, and oxtail soup, you can't beat them. See, I'm a meat eater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like, I know meat tastes good because I just had barbecue. Sorry, okay. I just grilled, man. But
we're screwing the show up.
No. But if like who was someone like, if the beans start to get bad, just cheese them down, bro. They'll taste okay, right? And if your chicken gets bad, just put a bunch of salt on it, man. Right? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I feel bad. Anyway, I forgot what my point was, but. Anyway, so
no, because we were talking about you had barbecue and we're eating different meats and
yeah. I was gonna say, like say the garden burger example, like it's just that one garden patty, but all the rest of the thing is what you put on a hamburger. And if you or there was other things that are showing them how you put all these sauces and everything on the chicken, you're barely gonna taste the chicken, right? But then he did taste it kind of raw without any.
Oh yeah, that guy on that. No, that bird that looked pretty good.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't think that it wouldn't have the flavor. Actually, like I say,
Yeah. Well, okay. So now I'm flashing back on some of those points. Okay, so that one guy from UC Davis was saying about the water's not an issue, the methane's not an issue. He said, they're going to have to start feeding these things antibiotics, but then the other guy said, no, we don't give them antibiotics. And then the last one was, what were we just talking about, Derrick? What was the last thing you just said?
That methane is questionable. Some people say, come on, really? When you're dealing with carbon, carbon discharge, it really is the methane from the cows really that big of a problem? I don't know.
It is. It is.
I mean, you could smell it about 2 miles out when you're rolling up on Kalinga, to the slaughterhouse. I mean, you could smell it before you get there, but I mean, is it really that much carbon?
Yeah, because methane is 10 to 100 times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, and it kind of just sits up there. And we were just researching this a few weeks ago, right? And I already forgot, but yeah, it's pretty potent up there. But I did watch. There's this physicist that I watch, and he talks about different things like quantum entanglement, and he was talking about the methane cycle on Earth, right? And it was kind of interesting because they were showing how they go back 100,000 years, because of ice cores and all that stuff, right? And they would show how the methane was kind of be like this, and all of a sudden it goes really high and it comes back down. I mean, they had about like 3 incidences that they can track, and then now we're on the one where it's going really high again, right? And so my point is that the dude was saying it was kind of a natural thing that could be happening. And it could just be the Earth slightly tilts a little bit or some crap like that.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and then they said that when those big methane spikes, it was just like a massive kill off of everything that couldn't take it anymore. Probably including humans if they were around back then. But see, that's the thing, right? Like I believe in climate change, and I know that man has contributed to this. But when you see that methane thing going up right now, dude. But I still think it's probably a couple hundred years away. It's like we're going to be doomed anyway because that methane spike's going to hit because the Earth is moving, and it's just going to kill everybody off anyway. I mean, everybody off in 100. I forgot how many years it was. I should have clarified
We'll
that.
be on the moon. We'll be on the moon and Mars by then, and we'll have the processed meat.
yeah. And the moon's hollow. You knew that, right? Did you see that big old moon? Did you see the moon the other night? I mean, yeah, that blue moon or whatever the heck it was.
I heard you were out there, and I came out about 3:30 in the morning with a pair of binoculars, and I got to say, it was one of the most incredible moons I've seen in my life. Actually, I could see all of the, the holes in it, the craters. Speaking of that, the Indian, I forget, they call it something 3, the name of the spacecraft. They actually found carbon, all kind of chemicals here from our Earth on the dark side of the moon.
Remember we talked
really? Already, yeah. It's
Dude, I want to see that.
Everything that, and then I got to look at the Chinese space station completely on the backside. Someone got a shot of that. And today, I believe.
Wait! The Chinese have a space station on there?
The Chinese have a space station on the dark side of the moon.
Full crap! Are you serious? I mean, they just landed there within the last year, and they got a station there.
Not on the moon. They got their own space station on the dark side in space. Just like the man-made. So like we have the space station itself. That's the shared global space station. The Chinese have their own space station that they started to build separate than the world. That's our regular known space station. They have their own.
Yeah, dude, I mean, this sounds crazy, but I actually think the moon is hollow, and I think that the moon was this sounds crazy, dude, right? But I think the moon was kind of put there by some species or something, because the thing's like almost perfectly round. And remember they were saying like when the astronauts, they did something and it just kept on reverberating like it was hollow or something, right?
Supposedly it was ice and dirt, and it was a collision with the Earth itself. This is one of the theories, and then it formed the moon. I don't know how many billions of years ago, but I don't want to call it. It's a dead planet, but the thing that's coming to life is all of this minerals that are available, from the asteroids, from gold, heavy metals. We're about to land on an asteroid, and right now, mining that thing for energy. Basically, that's why we're trying to get there.
Yeah, that 3D stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, that helium-3, and we know, and we're getting off subject. We know that there's, I think they did find water in the dark side, and so once they got that, they can produce their oxygen. They can produce fuel. We put your man-made meat machine. We shrink it down. Yeah. You can spend more time out there. And then the latest I heard from AI is you're going to send. We talked about that, sending robots that can actually prepare the housing and get everything together for humans to come.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Which is going to be That's kind of the thought now. We'll do the AI robots and let them, get the environment ready, up and running before humans actually get there. Okay. I don't know, that's the idea. So.
Yeah, but that methane.
What? I don't think you're going to have chickens and cows on the moon either way. Anyway,
Well, they could be in their little if they're on the inside of something. I mean, humans can't be out there exposed either, right? So whatever the humans are in, I'm sure the chickens and cows could be in there. I mean, but you're right. You're right though. They would if they could, they would. No, but it requires so much energy. They'd be like, no.
Yeah, we don't need too much. Yeah, too much on the weight and the food level. So no, it's going to have to be manufactured there, grown. That was the whole idea of the plant deal.
Yeah.
Growing. Indoor plant. That's why we've been experimenting for a long time, trying to get indoor plant growth and like enough sustainable. What seeds will work, so that we could, but that's on a small scale.
Well, I think that what I meant about the lab grown meat on the moon is right now they said it requires heck of energy, right? So they're not gonna bring an inefficient process to the moon, right? You know what I mean? So you put for a while, and well, hey, dude, unless we get a hold of that helium-3, maybe we can make some kind of little power plant out there or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, man.
No music today, huh?
Huh? What'd you say?
No music today?
No, because today? I was gonna do a thing for Jimmy Buffett, and then I end up hanging these
No Margaritaville, nothing.
No, not today. Just depressing factory farm stuff. But
I didn't realize that guy was a billionaire.
Probably. Remember, he had like those vacation resort things, Margaritaville.
That's what did it. Yeah, casinos, hotels, all off Margaritaville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a billionaire, huh?
Yeah, all off of that.
Dang, good for him, man.
And he actually didn't do well with the record sales. It was the concerts and the following. His that's what did it for him. And then him being a good businessman with the Margaritaville clubs and things like that.
Yeah, he had a good manager, right?
yeah.
Okay, Derek, we're a little bit over here, so we'll get another topic for next week, and we'll hook up again, and yeah, I guess we'll see you. So thanks for your contribution today, and
hey man, thanks for having me on. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, right on, dude. All right, coolio. See you next week.
All right, brother.
Bye. Okay, so it's Broke Johnny back here. Thanks, Derek, for joining in as usual. I just wanted to say that Groove Thing is not playing in September. Out in publicly, we have 3 private gigs, but I am doing a public gig. It's not my gig. I'm just running sound. It's at the Elk Grove Multicultural Festival, and it's in Elk Grove, but it's at this place called District 56, and I think it's off Laguna or Elk Grove. I guess I should know the address, huh? Right? Civic Center Drive. Yeah, Civic Center Drive, but it's out there somewhere, right? I've been there like several times. But I'm going to be running the band stage, and there's going to be 4 separate bands starting around 10 o'clock. On the inside stage will be like multicultural dances, like the Native Americans, and then I forgot what the roster is, but all the different cultures, they do like these dance things out there, cultural dances. There's also a really cool art show that's been there for years. I want to say for years. What I meant is the festival has been there for years, but it used to take place at Elk Grove Park, and now it's at this place called District 56, right? So anyway, every time I walk into that art show, I've seen like really, multicultural art, really nice looking stuff. And in that little room, they're going to have like I think a vocal group singing. It's got to all be low key because it's an art show, right? So we're running the art show there with some vocalists. I subcontract my buddies running the dance stage on the inside of District 56, and I'm running the band stage at District 56. There's plenty of booths, food, and all this stuff, so it should be a really good family-friendly event. And I used to think like this diversity and this cultural stuff was kind of boring, or like what's the big deal? But every time I see these little dances and everything out there, it's like the dances and the different kind of food and whatnot. It's like, it's actually, it makes me happy. It's kind of cool just to see the different cultures and what their dances are and things like that. And they also share spoken word and things like that. So I'm glad I am involved with that. So other than that, I'll see you guys next week.
'Cause I'm a funk master fly, yeah, like no other guy. Said funk master fly, yeah, get funky. I'm a funk master fly.